From an early age, we're taught all about shapes. A square has 4 sides. A circle is round. Yet somewhere in that lesson plan, they forgot to mention how tricky triangles can be.
Yeah, it just looks like it got too loose.
Since 1969, they've been trying to understand how it works at Pocono Raceway.
Run into the field!
And apparently, they've still got a ways to go.
Oh no, back into the wall!
Shape Up Around the Track starts now.
Run DMC said it's tricky to rock a rhyme, and for NASCAR drivers, it's tricky to make their way around Pocono. Welcome to the fastest half hour in sports. This is Around the Track. I'm your host, Gabe McDonald. We got a loaded show on deck as we get you ready for a stop at a fan favorite track this weekend. We have not one but 2 drivers joining the show. The driver of the iconic 3-car Austin Dillion is in Garage Confidential. Plus, we go one-on-one with Xfinity Series star Jesse Love as well. Plus, the Athletics' Jordan Bianchi. You know him, you love him. He makes his return to the program with all the inside info in the sport. But first things first, let's drop the green flag and try to tame that tricky triangle up in the mountains. Pocono Raceway, for drivers, it's loved by some, revered by others, but for fans, it's near the top of the list for racing. Not a lot of banking here, which is ironic because of the elevation in the mountains, but there are plenty of bumps that drivers will have to navigate through. Watch out for turn 1, lots of drama in the pass in that sweeping bend, and you have very long straightaways as well, the longest in NASCAR, which means plenty of opportunities to pass if you can get through the gears. The tricky triangle is no doubt a track where it takes a full team effort from top to bottom in order to get to victory lane.
As a driver, okay, I have confidence and I feel like I know what I need to win there. Like I know what my car needs to feel like and I know what to kind of strive for. So it's never a bad thing when you go back to places where you've had success at.
I mean, Pocono's so tough, with 3 different corners, such long straightaways. You have to have everything working. You have to have good strategy, good pit stops, a great car that can work in all 3 corners. The driver has to be on their game because it's a tough place to get around with how fast it is and how flat it is. So you just have to really be 100% in every single area. And, I feel like we're working in the right direction. So hopefully we can have a solid weekend.
All right, time for some track trends. Here's Pocono by the numbers. We'll go 400 miles over 160 laps on this 2.5-mile asphalt tri-oval. What's turn 4 is the saying the locals like to say up there. This will be the 92nd time the Cup Series has hosted a weekend in the mountains of Pennsylvania. No one has more wins here than Mr. Denny Hamlin. 7 victories in the Poconos for the driver of the number 11. And of course, you got to qualify well here as well. The cars who start up front have the advantage the entire race. 41% of cars who start in the first 3 rows have gone on to take the checkered flag at Pocono Raceway. And he's an Around the Track regular, bringing the drip and the inside knowledge to the show each and every time he joins us. Jordan Bianchi at The Athletic is back in the building. First things first, how was that trip down to Mexico, my friend?
It was fun. Great food, great culture. Tacos were amazing.
Absolutely. I wish I could have had some of those tacos. I saw a lot of people talking about them, so maybe if they go back there, I can make the trip as well. With another week comes another unique track on the NASCAR circuit. Jordan, they call Pocono the tricky triangle for a reason. It's typically favors veteran drivers as well, so what makes it so challenging, and what does it take to win at a place like this?
I mean, there is nothing else like Pocono. It is a triangle. It's 3 distinct corners as well, modeled after other racetracks. So you can be really good in one corner, but completely bad in a different corner. There is no carryover from one to the other. Also, the longest straightaway on an oval in this circuit. That makes it challenging as well. Brakes are at a premium. We've seen some really scary crashes going into turn 1, so keep an eye on that on Sunday.
And we just saw a really long straightaway in Mexico as well. Having these 2 races back to back, how do you think that's going to fare for drivers too?
It's a challenge. I mean, you're going from the altitude of Mexico City, now you're going to Pocono, and it's 2 different things. Now, there is a little bit of carryover. Pocono does have a little bit of similarities to some road courses and how you brake and everything, so that'll help if you come off of Mexico.
Absolutely. And we're fresh off Mexico City, that stop down there. Many considering the weekend of success. We saw a pair of foreign-born drivers get into victory lane. Mexico native Daniel Suarez in the Xfinity Series, and New Zealand's very own Shane Van Gisbergen in the Cup Series. Now, outside of the travel snafus, I would say it's a weekend that many in the sport consider success. What were some of your main takeaways of the race in Mexico?
Once everybody got on the ground, it was a very successful weekend. Fans were passionate. They embraced it. It was a big moment for NASCAR to race internationally like this. It was a success on the racetrack, and I would be interested to see if they go back or not, but based off everything that happened, it would be silly not to go back next year.
That moment for Daniel Suarez, have you ever experienced anything like that? That was pretty special.
It's pretty impressive. I mean, there's been some moments over the years that have kind of carried a lot of weight, but to see that and all the pressure on him, and I know it was the Xfinity Series, sure, but to do that in front of your home country, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, truly a career-defining moment,
Absolutely.
something he will never forget as well. And of course, we also saw, another, instance between probably the biggest rivalry in the sport in recent weeks. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the young gun Carson Hocevar with yet another incident. Hocevar running into Stenhouse when Hocevar was a lap down. Stenhouse going straight to Hocevar's car after a late race wreck. Jordan, you actually had a front row seat to this pretty much afterwards. What do you think happens next between these two drivers?
I will tell you this, if Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is wearing shorts this weekend, I'd be very afraid of him, Carson Hocevar, because we have seen what happens when Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wears shorts.
All-Star race last year.
Exactly. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. let Carson Hocevar off the hook a couple weeks ago. Said, okay, you made a mistake, you apologize, we're going to move forward. Do not do this again. Well, Hocevar did it again. Stenhouse said that there will be retribution, and I would not put it past Stenhouse to get some kind of payback.
Yeah, we'll see. And he was smart, too, saying he'll do it when he gets back to the States. Yeah. Don't want to take any risks.
We don't need international incident.
Yeah. So we'll see how things shake out between the two of them, especially getting ready to head to a track like Atlanta. And, of course, we can't let you go without getting a little bit of inside scoop as well. You actually broke a story earlier this week about a street race potentially heading to the West Coast. What can you tell us, and what would a return to Southern California do for the sport?
Yeah, I mean, Liz, first of all, NASCAR is looking to go to San Diego, which is a Southern California market. They have not really raced there full-time as a points race since 2023. This is big for NASCAR. Street course race in San Diego, if the deal is finalized, and it is expected to be finalized, would be monumental for this sport. It takes them into a market they haven't been in. It's good for sponsors, it's good for the industry, and it continues this push to bring the racing to the people in populous areas.
Absolutely, would be a pretty impressive stop as well. You think about Chicago, no long-term deal after this year, so we'll see how that plays out. But San Diego would be a pretty good spot to have a street race as well. Of course, would be quite the sight to see next year with a street race down in Southern Cal. Jordan, he's not going anywhere. However, our next guest is hoping to get back into victory lane sooner than later.
Told the guys last night, every time I'm around these bull riders, I feel like I get tougher on the track because I watch what they go through and what they put their bodies through.
While Austin Dillon's competing for points on the racetrack, his bull riding team is about to kick off its season. So how does he manage both? He's in Garage Confidential. Tell us more coming up next. And later, Jesse Love may be NASCAR's next star, but he's not too big to sit down with us on ATT. A one-on-one with the driver of the two-car in the Xfinity Series is on deck as well. Plus, there's another $1 million prize on the line when NASCAR's in-season challenge kicks off soon. We'll take a look at the current standings and potential matchups before the bracket is officially set. That's next right here on Around the Track. Back here on Around the Track, seeding is still being determined ahead of NASCAR's inaugural in-season challenge, which begins next week in Atlanta. Here are your top 10 drivers. The top 32 get into the tournament, and remember, these standings are different from the regular season standings. Denny Hamlin remains on track for the top seed despite missing the Mexico City race to stay home for the birth of his son. Chris Buescher says it's the number 2 seed based on his second place finish 2 weeks ago in Michigan and an 11th place finish last week at Mexico City. That gives him the tiebreaker over Christopher Bell, who is in 3rd. Ty Gibbs is 4th, and Chase Elliott is 5th. Gabe McDonald back here with the Athletics' Jordan Bianchi. Jordan, if the tourney started this week, we would have some pretty interesting matchups. Some of those, Denny Hamlin up against Carson Hocevar, Bubba Wallace and Joey Logano, even William Byron and one of the veteran drivers, Brad Keselowski, just to name a few. Real quick, which one is the most intriguing? If these matchups stay put, of course, we still got one more race to go.
Brad Keselowski versus William Byron is really interesting because this tournament starts at Atlanta, which is a drafting track. Well, that is Brad's forte. This is where he's really good. He's had a bad year this year, but he could have a win there and not shock anybody at all. So he could knock out William Byron very easily. Also, Carson Hocevar versus Denny Hamlin. Ooh, man, that could be interesting if they're racing for a spot late in a race. And oh man, good
that's
luck.
The thing too. I mean, with this, you're going to have guys, going for 10th or 15th that are going to be racing hard. So definitely going to be interesting to see these X5 races. Going to be a lot of fun. Well, while Austin Dillon is gearing up for this weekend, he's also helping to get another team ready, the Carolina Cowboys. The general manager of the PBR bull riding team is entering his 4th season at the helm, and he joins Casey Funderburg in this week's Garage Confidential to talk about how he manages driving for a team while also directing one off the track.
This week we're joined by Austin Dillon, the driver of the number 3 car for RCR. Austin, we're going to get into Pocono. That's happening this weekend. But before we do, we're obviously in a very different setting right now, not the typical race setting. But tonight we are with the Carolina Cowboys, who you play a huge role with as their general manager. So what's happening tonight and why is it so exciting for this team?
Yeah, so this week is our training camp. We're getting ready for the long season ahead of us. We're under our covered arena here at the Davis Rodeo Ranch. Our head coach, Jerome Davis, owns this place, and we kick things off every year here. And this is our 3rd day of the camp, and we have our Wild West Wednesday, which is a big rodeo that goes on. And the guys get a little inter-squad match, a blue versus white game is what we call it, and they get after it pretty good.
With having the NASCAR season going on at the same time, how nice is it to kind of step away from being the competitor and being the person that's kind of over the guys who are competing?
Well, it's fun, and I feel like I told the guys last night, every time I'm around these bull riders, I feel like I get tougher on the track because I watch what they go through and what they put their bodies through, because you're getting on a 2,000-pound animal and trying to dominate on top of them and stay on for 8 seconds. Just the other day in practice, Ethan Winkler, our first-round draft pick from last year, he hit the dirt first time, and I was like, oh, it was a pretty rough hit. Got on another one. I felt like that one hit him even harder, and he wasn't going to let it beat him. He got on a 3rd bull, rode it for 8 seconds. So perseverance is huge with these guys because, you know, even if you ride sometimes it's a wreck.
Right.
But, you know, they keep trying to get better each day, and that's what we've been talking about all during training camp.
And their season, July to October, so that's kind of the middle, like right smack dab during your season of NASCAR. So how are you going to kind of focus on, you know, I got to get this done in the Cup Series, but also give them my time as well?
Mostly it's just having a good team. I've got a great team back at the shop that pretty much does all the legwork for me. My focus for the Cowboys is usually just the rider part, which is fun for me when I have a day or two. But, you know, I'm in the simulator Tuesday, really working with the guys on Wednesday, and we take off of the track on Fridays most of the time, unless the schedule's different. I'll try and catch 1 or 2 games lives. Like we went to Nashville with my grandfather last year, which was a fun event to go to. And then our home event is Bristol Race Weekend. So we're done Saturday. I'll have Sunday there and Friday also.
Oh, that's nice how that works out with your schedule.
It is very nice. We try and get it around that NASCAR schedule so we can see the boys compete.
Absolutely. And this weekend, so you'll be heading to the Poconos this weekend, I guess leaving Friday for that. What have you learned about this course? Obviously you've driven it before, but what are some things that, you know, maybe stand out to you about this track?
Tricky triangle, man. It's a rhythm track. You got 3 corners, and you're never really going to have the car handle perfect. So you try and give it a really good balance, and we've worked really hard in the sim the last 2 weeks to try and get it right. I feel like we can break out at any moment with our 3 team. You know, we've had a streak of top 10s at one point in the season. Kind of got it straight away from that, so we need to get one going this weekend at Pocono.
What's going to be that difference maker to get that streak going?
Truthfully, I think it starts with qualifying. We got to qualify better. If we qualify better, it just sets the tone for the weekend. And we can do that.
Have the guys tried to get you to maybe do a flip-flop day with them where they hop in the car, you hop on a bull?
They ain't gonna get that. I mean, they always are pushing me like, we'll get you on a steer, you know, something that don't buck hard. Yeah, right. Those guys are crazy. I'm gonna stick to my 7-point harness and just the roll cage, my helmet. These guys, man, they're a different animal.
Good luck this weekend in Poconos, and then good luck to the Carolina Cowboys. Hopefully they bring home that world championship.
Thanks for coming out, and you never know, maybe we'll have a PBR teams event in the city of Charlotte.
Thanks again to Austin Dillon for the time. Well, up next, Carson Hocevar in hot water for comments he made about Mexico City, and his team made sure he paid the price for it. Details on that are next.
I still feel like we can get to 2nd in points. At the minimum, you know, get to 3rd in points.
Jesse Love kicked off the Xfinity Series season with the win, and he's hoping to end it as the last man standing. We sit down with the driver of the number 2 car next on Around the Track. Back here on Around the Track, Carson Hocevar can't seem to stay out of the news. Earlier this week, Spider Motorsports fined him $50,000 for comments he made during a recent live stream about Mexico City, which hosted NASCAR this past weekend. Hocevar also must attend cultural sensitivity and bias awareness training. The driver of the number 77 for Spider Motorsports issued an apology on social media earlier this week as well. Back here with Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic, shifting to another up-and-coming driver in the sport, Jesse Love, already in the playoffs in the Xfinity Series after winning the opening race in Daytona. Real quick, what do you make of his rise over the last couple of years? Just 20 years old, but already one of the top guys in that series.
Yeah, very talented, one of NASCAR's top prospects. Expect him to be full-time in the Cup Series within the next couple of years, and I know at least one Cup Series team that is very interested in him for next year.
It's currently excited to see him in full-time in the Cup Series. Already has a few dates this year as well, and a couple more coming up over the next few weeks as well. He's certainly going to be a force on the track each and every week like he already is. And to talk more about the season and some big things on the horizon, Love sat down with our very own Joey Ellis ahead of this weekend's races at Pocono.
All right, Jesse Love drives the number 2 for Richard Childress Racing, back from a very eventful weekend in Mexico. He got a very busy couple of weeks upcoming for you, though. Just looking back, though, on the trip that was, really exciting weekend just for the sport in general. I mean, just how was it?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was one of the best weeks of my life, and just had a great time, got to meet new people, see family of mine that I haven't seen in many years, and then obviously some family members I met for the first time. So that was really cool. Got to, explore the city with some of my best friends, and got to, see new places, eat new things, and experience new things. It was obviously really cool. Very pleasantly surprised that we somehow had a good points day, looking back on it, but obviously wasn't the result we were hoping for. Had a speeding penalty at the end of stage 2, but put ourselves, after the 88 and the 19 wreck, we were in a position to win.
How do you just kind of sum up the season at this point? I mean, you've been littered around top 10s. You got 9 of them so far in the season. Put yourself in chances to win a lot of races. I mean, just looking from Daytona, obviously that first win, to now, where is the biggest growth that you've seen?
Yeah, we've definitely been good. We need another step. I think that right now we're still chasing a couple cars, primarily the JRM cars, but I feel like, we find ourselves in a good spot. Going into the playoffs, obviously we're not there yet, and there's still some work to be done seating wise to try to be in a better position heading in the playoffs. But I think that, overall we're, getting where we need to be. Obviously we got a lot more aggressive and had a lot more speed as of late, and now I think we're just trying to mesh all that together. Obviously progress sometimes is kind of like a up and down sequence of events, and I think we're probably having more downs than we want to right now, but I think that's because we're trying to get better so we can go to the playoffs and have a chance to win.
You mentioned chasing the JRM guys still, but how about your own team? What is it that gives you so much confidence racing with those guys, everybody, top to bottom?
Yeah, I think that we all have a lot of heart and commitment, and we're all pretty young too, and all of our guys, Bass, Davey Matthews, our car chief, our engineer, crew chief, like all those guys are just very fiery and committed to our team, and we all get along really well. And I think that when you have something like that, you're more so racing and fighting for the guy next to you and your friend. I'm in a good position with my team that we can have that camaraderie and that relationship as a team, and I think that we're all going to ride the wave. And me and Danny Stockman talk about that a lot, right? We got to get that wave going up, and then we can kind of ride it to the top, and then obviously work to stay there.
NASCAR staying in the States now this weekend. When you go to Pocono, you've only raced there once. When you think of that track, just kind of what stands out, your expectations there? Yeah,
I actually got to race there in ARCA. So I have a Pocono trophy at my house, and it's my favorite one. Yeah. It's the only one that is on display at my house. I love the racetrack. It's one of my favorites. Just super technical. Obviously, it's really different corner to corner, and I think strive on the bigger tracks, high-speed racetracks, and it's what I enjoy doing the most. And Pocono is obviously that to a T, so it's really cool to go there.
Now, as you kind of approach the postseason, still have several races to go, 4th in the standings as it sits. What are the goals now leading up to the postseason for you guys?
I don't know. I think, as a driver, our goals change in the middle of the race, right? This weekend at Mexico, in the beginning, I was my goal is to win this deal. And at the end of it, after you get spun out, you're how can I just salvage a day, right? And I think that throughout the season, your goals change as well. I feel like the 7 is really far out, and the regular season championship might be pretty hard to get to, but I still feel like we can get to 2nd in points. Again, we'd be 2nd right now if we didn't get, disqualified at Rockingham. Yeah. So that's a bummer every time I look at the app and the NASCAR app. But at the same time, we can close that gap, and me and my teammate Austin Hill will be, waiting in the wings for that.
All right, Jesse Love, we appreciate you doing this. Safe travels this weekend. Good luck this weekend in Pocono.
Appreciate it.
Well, last year was Ryan Blaney burning it down at the site of his very first Cup Series win. Who will tame the Tricky Triangle this time around? We got the odds from the books and our Victory Lane locks coming up next here on BT2. Back here on Around the Track, here's who Vegas favors Sunday for the Great American Getaway 400. Denny Hamlin tops the list at plus 475. Hamlin swept 2 races at Pocono in his rookie season all the way back in 2006 and added wins in 2009, 2010, 2019, 2020, and 2023. So he is very good here. He's followed by Kyle Larson and last season's winner here, Ryan Blaney. They are at 525 and 550 respectively. William Byron and Christopher Bell round out the top 5, sharing 8-1 odds. take the checkered flag. So you got the odds. Now it's time for our final order of business. Jordan, you know the drill. Time for our victory lane locks. Who do you like to get it done this weekend up in Pocono?
I feel like I've picked William Byron many times this year, and he hasn't come through except for the Daytona 500, but he's due for a second win, man. At Darlington, Charlotte dominated those races. Should have had a win there. He hasn't closed it out yet. He is due for a second win. Hendrick Motorsports is so good here as well.
Absolutely. It has a handful of top 5 finishes, but still in search of that very first win at Pocono. So we'll see if he can get it done. I'm going with the favorites. I'm not going out on much of a limb. Give me Denny Hamlin to return to victory lane for what would be his 8th win at this very famous track. He has 7 there already in 35 Cup starts at the Tricky Triangle. Finished top 10 in 23 of those races. First race back after welcoming his son to the world as well. So I think there's going to be a little bit of extra motivation there as well. I think Denny Hamlin's going to get it done. Maybe a wild card, a guy that's maybe run pretty well but hasn't gotten the win yet here. Who do you think that could be this week?
Keep an eye on Carson Hocevar.
Okay.
Really fast a couple weeks ago at Michigan, also fast at Charlotte, Nashville. Could have had wins there as well. They didn't play out the way he wanted it to. Had a lot of speed lately though. If that speed carries over, don't be surprised if he's in victory lane celebrating that first career win.
Hey, it would be pretty awesome to see. I also already said, early in the season as well, that I think he's going to get one eventually. I think the only thing that can stop him is if a certain somebody isn't on his heels as well. That being Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who we mentioned earlier in the show. Well, for Jordan Bianchi and Joey Ellis, Casey Funderburg, I'm Gabe McDonald. Appreciate you watching Around the Track. We'll see you next week ahead of Atlanta as we get ready for the in-season challenge.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.